All right, here we are. Saying hi to everybody from beautiful Costa Rica. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for being. Thank you for the opportunity to learn and grow and dream together.
Yes.
So this course, I call it a course, this offering. A bunch of people came last week too, and um, hopefully we'll just keep this rolling week after week. Um, this is sort of a not sort of this is a supplement to a book that I have been dreaming and living for the past several years. And it's coming together now, and the book is called The Dream Alchemist, a journey and practice to transform suffering into love and a dreamlike life that's beyond imagination. And this has been my experience with this sacred practice of dream yoga. Um, got a confirmation from the gecko in the background here, chiming in. So where do I start? I will start having stated my intention clearly by saying that from one way of looking at things, I've come to see that I don't actually know anything. Um, and the everything that's true is also not true. And it reminds me of a teaching I got from one of my gurus. Her name is Naomi. It's my youngest daughter. Told me when she was about 5 years old. These, wow, what comes out of the mouth of babes when they're young? They're still so connected to truth and wisdom and purity. I asked her, what does enlightenment mean to you? And she said, oh, that's easy, Daddy. It's an open mind. So, like, it was totally obvious to her. Um, so, adding to my intentions in this call and through this practice, and however we may, meet or interact with each other again in the future, my intention is that we will all learn together while learning to let go of what we think, what we believe, what we think we know, and in particular, patterns that aren't serving us, patterns of thought and patterns of feeling. So, in last week's call, we talked a lot about how to catch dreams and specific protocols and practice to do that. That probably took about 25 minutes of the call. So I'm not going to go through all of that again today. There are links on my coaching site. It's called Eyes Open Dream, eyesopendream.com. There's a resource page there with links to see some interviews that I've done, some podcasts, and as I mentioned, I'll be adding to it over time. Um, Protocols for catching your dreams with clarity and consistency can be found there. In short, intention before you go to sleep. I intend to remember my dreams tonight. And when you wake up in the morning, before you get up, freeze and allow yourself to go back into the dream, whether that's in a memory or you're going back into a sleep state or that hypnagogic state in between waking and dreaming, the theta brainwave state, where we can catch our dreams and receive guidance from whatever we call that, that communicates to us so clearly, so lovingly, in a way that is absolutely helpful and transformative once we open up to it and we learn to calm the mind. Another part of the intention in my life and what I'm doing with people, I've been doing this full time for the last 4 or 5 years, is hopefully to save y'all and or maybe teach you, you reinforce a practice with you that you can share with others, to help them save some time in learning that which is most helpful for them in their life. In my life story, this, whatever you call it, this dream of my life, I was a club DJ for 6 years full time after I ran away from home, moved to Hollywood, and lived the DJ life. That was my first big dream, and it came true, playing in really big clubs and living that life. And after 6 years of that, I decided that I had realized the dream. I couldn't really go any higher or bigger unless I moved to England. And I decided to go to college, so I could meet I could meet women with brains. Is the way I put it. Like people I wasn't meeting in the clubs. And I and when I started in college, it just felt so good to activate my mind, and it began a what became now over 30 years of, up until a couple of years ago, just constant study of all sorts of things, um, trying to find out the meaning of life, why I was here, what I could do to be happy. And for about 10 years, one aspect of that study was magic, what people call magic, this consciously conforming phenomena reality, um, to our will. It's one way that it's said in that tradition. And I found in through that study, which, I'm kind of embarrassed about it. I used to be super proud of all the books that I read, well over 1,000 books. I went deep into this path of the mind, and was really interested in learning like the mystery behind people like Plato, Aristotle, Michelangelo, Nikola Tesla, Rudolf Steiner. The list goes on and on and on. These people who wrote volumes and volumes of books, and somehow invented amazing things, created like beautiful things that really transformed, the planet and the consciousness of humanity in positive ways. How did they learn all that stuff? And I found in studying these ancient mystery schools and alchemy in particular, the alchemists, that there was a theme with many of these people who I studied for all these years, and it was dream work. They were receiving what they were creating and or teaching in their dreams in night school every night. Carl Jung in particular is someone I think probably some of his stuff that I haven't read, but I read probably 20 feet wide of books of Carl Jung. And I remember in the Red Book in particular, and many of his works, but there was a quote from him that said that if it weren't for his dreams, he would never have learned anything of significant value. And interestingly, after all that study, all of that work, plant medicine ceremonies all over the world, I say the same is true for me. That which has been most helpful for me has been what I've learned in my dreams, and cultivating an intimate connection with whatever that was that came in my dreams and showed me. At first it was all about patterns of thought and patterns of feeling. And it didn't make sense to me at first. First introduction was in, I don't know, about 15 years ago. First time my DREAMWORK coach, who I magically met, and there's a whole story around that, but I met this man, one man, who in my whole life has been most significant in helping me transform deep, deep suffering into the life that I have and live now. He became my DREAMWORK coach, and I worked with him for 6 years, 3 or 4 times a month, sharing my dreams with him. And he, over time, taught me this practice of using the dreams, literally falling in love with whatever that is. I call it the divine mystery. Some people call it the soul or the higher self. Whatever you call it, some people call it God or love. There is something. I call it the mystery because there's something about that I will never ever know. It seems to me it will always be a mystery, and yet there's a deep love and connection that I have with that now. And I've literally been living the life of my dreams for the last 6 years. So hopefully this will help you perhaps learn something or unlearn things. Reminds me of a quote attributed to the Buddha, who said, "The root of all human suffering is that people actually believe what they think." And I'm just going with what comes. I didn't prepare. I'm just sharing what is true. So having said that, another thought that just came is I'm reminded of a teaching from a Dzogchen Lama. This dream work that I've been trained in is primarily informed by 2 lineages. One is an aspect of Tibetan Buddhism called the Dzogchen, and the other is Native American teachings. And magically, however it happened, something manifested a teacher who was deeply entrenched in the Dzogchen tradition. And then I also met a Lakota chief who invited me to spend time with him and other Native American elders to learn their way of living and seeing the world and following their dreams and the signs in phenomenal reality as a guiding force in their life. So I'm watching this video I don't know, a few days ago, and this lama was describing this transition in consciousness, which I think directly relates to what I described as dream alchemy, using dream work to alchemize our consciousness, transform base consciousness, dense consciousness and patterns, um, feelings like shame, anger, guilt, victimization, desire. And a huge part of it, by the way, is sexual desire. Really working with that in a good way is huge. And as we continue to do this work, we're drawn into a greater connection and understanding of those patterns that are there, which many people for their whole life, or at least a part of their life, these patterns trigger habitual response to phenomenon, to circumstance in their life. Same exact thing could happen, and depending on those patterns, we may feel it a different way or we may see it an entirely different way. Same exact thing. I noticed this with my daughters. Rosemary, like the exact thing would happen and Naomi would freak out, and Naomi and Rosemary would be totally cool. Like right out of the womb. So, I think some of these, it's been my experience that these patterns begin even before we're born, brought into this life, this energetic imprint. And dream work helps us connect with those and over time to transform those denser energies that aren't serving us, aren't helpful, and start seeing things in a different way, feeling things in a different way. So this Dzogchen Lama was describing 3 different major components in one's progression towards enlightenment. By the way, dream yoga within the Dzogchen tradition is known to be one of 6 pathways to enlightenment. And she described the first phase as compulsive reaction. Something happens and we have a thought or we have a feeling and we act on it, right? Some people go through their whole life habitually reacting to behavior, not being aware that they can actually change patterns and learn to see things in a different way, feel things in a different way, and in particular when that happens, their whole life can transform. Because it's been my experience, I like to say that instead of I know, because who knows? It has been my experience that the world is inside out. I say the world meaning what we see out in phenomenal reality is a projection, largely influenced based upon patterns of thought, patterns of feeling. And it turns out we can change it. So the second step, as she was describing this evolution, this progression towards enlightenment, the next phase is what some people call the spiritual path. And it includes becoming conscious, paying attention to the thoughts, and learning that we can actually change those thoughts. And we can create new patterns by doing certain things, chanting mantras, singing, dancing, playing, breath work, all sorts of things in traditional spiritual practice that helps in changing these patterns. And then the next phase after that is there's a disidentification with phenomenal reality. You start to identify more with whatever that is, which is aware in the moment. So in one way of seeing it, this is me, and it is, right? It's one way of seeing it. This is real, and it is. It's as real as a dream, and the dreams are also as real as waking life. And within the Dzogchen tradition in particular, just happens to be the path that I've gone deeper into. The the if there's a goal at all, it's to prepare you for the biggest ceremony of your life, which is the day that you die. And these monks, men and women who spent years, some of them in caves, in isolation and contemplation, trying to figure out the meaning of life, were not only tripping because they were in dark caves, so the DMT activated in their mind, and they were in deep visionary and dream states while they were in their practice. They were doing this work of dream yoga to see the illusory nature of phenomenal reality, so that when they do leave the body, they're not enticed by the beings and things that may appear. They may see it as like a dream while they're in this, going through the bardos, as they describe it in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. So they may not engage with the beings and things or colors that show up, and they may not freak out as they're going through that transition. And they can let go, and find their way back home as pure awareness. So maybe that felt kind of deep or heavy. This is a part of me, and sharing my intention. This is kind of a bigger picture of what I mean by what I call dream alchemy. It's a practice and journey to transform suffering into love and a life that's beyond imagination. As we're going into the bardos, and I will share that I personally had an experience, and I won't go into my story, but I did have a really profound near-death experience, and found my way into this. There's no words for it. Absolutely no words for it. And coming back, finding that it's love. It's love for whatever all this stuff is. that's given meaning to my life. It's being in this dream, interacting with apparent others, even though from one point of view there are no others. So I'm embracing the dream of this life with so much love and wonder and curiosity, and inviting others, apparent others, you all, to join me in living a magical life. Reminds me of another quote by Adyashanti, who describes enlightenment as the normalcy of everyday life in the moment, without desire and without resistance. It turns out all the reading, all the work that I did, like the companies that I built, the money that I had and lost, and blah, blah, blah. What that my the desire that I had was to feel good. For no reason. And this work, this practice has brought me to that for a lot of my life. Happy for no reason and loving for no reason. So that's interesting how I went into all of that first. That's sort of a, not sort of, cancel sort of, that is a preface to what I felt you all may be interested in talking about. I mean, talking about, because I would encourage you all to chime in if you'd like. I'm here to learn with you as well. It's this experience of what I call living the dream, lucid living. After a whole lot of this dream work and teaching from my coach,
Right.
I started to see this reality as inside out. In the Jungian approach to dream work, Gestalt as well, one is encouraged to consider that every being and thing that shows up in the dreams is actually an aspect of ourself. So that so the old man that you see on the side of the road in the dream that's sick isn't actually the old man. It's my inner old man. The rainbow colored eagle that's flying through the sky chasing after rainbow colored dragons is also me in a way. And from another point of view, it's a dream. So there's less attachment to the phenomenal reality. It becomes more bendable, more flexible, more magical. Particularly as we go deeper into lucid dreaming. Now I'm going to do a whole talk on that, how to wake up in the dream, both in your waking life and in your sleeping or in between states. As doing enough of this for a long time, for me, it was a natural progression to start seeing my waking reality the same way. Like, this is really odd that this person just showed up and started screaming in my face while I'm sitting having a cup of coffee at this cafe. Like, wow, that's wild. Years ago, should something like that have happened, I would have freaked out or got up and invited him to conflict with me. Reminds me of an experience I had with another client who, when I first started working with him, was actually here in Costa Rica. He was telling me how he was sitting on the beach and a man came up to him selling coconuts, and he got really scared, and he thought that this man was going to try and steal something from him, and he shouted at him and told him to go away. And then the next day he talked with me about it, and we spent some time doing this practice. I know some of you are familiar with, called shadow work. Way of integrating these feelings, things that maybe we've pushed down that are influencing the way we feel as we're navigating our waking dream in life. After about 10 months working together, he called me one day and he says, Lucas, I'm calling to celebrate with you. And I said, what happened? And he said, my laptop got stolen on the bus. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And he says, I didn't freak out. I wasn't even upset at all. It just happened. And not long after that, I let him know that I thought we were done working together one on one. And he found his way to choosing how he responds to phenomenal reality. So all those years of studying magic, studying ritual, and all the things that they do, and left-hand path of magic, to bend reality in conformance to one's will. It turns out there's another way. It's way easier in a way, and I call it alchemy. It's understanding that the world is inside out, and the more harmony there is in our consciousness and our feeling state most of the time, the more that we see in the movie projected in what we know to be our life, our waking dream. And as we continue in this work, and dreams will show us, like, magically, that's also magic, is we learn in our dreams, the dreams will illuminate using symbols and characters apparent to others in the dream to show us parts of ourself that aren't in harmony, that haven't even been seen or remembered, literally remembered. And then doing the shadow work sessions, we integrate those, we understand where that pattern began. For example, I was really sensitive. I've always been a really, really sensitive person. Um, been told by a few people that I have a condition called Asperger's syndrome. Been super sensitive to lights and sound and so many things my whole life. And growing up, my parents didn't understand that and felt there was something wrong with that. And I was led to believe that that's not acceptable. I could never tell anybody that I hear the electricity in the walls because I'd be laughed at or told I'm an idiot child. So I learned young in the formative years of my life, which are most significantly the first 7 years of life, is when the core programming of our consciousness happens. Most humans, their whole life after that is literally repeating those patterns that they picked up in the first 7 years over and over and over again. And while they're in that pattern, that's what shows up in their phenomenal reality. So this practice, for one, catching the dreams, and then working with someone or learning how to integrate those parts of ourselves that we were pushing away, is a huge part of the process, which for for many of us, for me, it was years, thousands of dreams, finding and reclaiming different parts of myself that I pushed away. And all the while that was all going on, even while working with my dream work coach, I was creating catastrophe after catastrophe in my life. So I have a feeling, and I know at least some of you really totally get this. And in a way, I'm preaching to the choir. Like, you've been there, done that. And we are going to share this talk with others. And there may be something in what I just shared that's helpful for you in talking about the beginning stages of this dream alchemy work, this process towards lucid living. So that term lucid living is the experience as the dream work deepens, really deepens, and we start to see everything is inside out. Why is this showing up in my life? What is it that's in my consciousness? Where are these patterns of thoughts and feelings which have contributed to the circumstance showing up in my external reality? At some point in this alchemical process, the heart opens. And dream work really helps with that because we start to see perhaps everything is me. Every human is also me, a reflection of my own consciousness. And then it just doesn't make any sense not to love anybody then. So as we literally embody this experience of unconditional love, that's one way to describe it, this magical energy, some people call Kundalini energy, magical force that's latent in the base of our spine, most people for a while. We open up more and more. We're living more and more in a state of peace and harmony and love in particular. Love and the heart, literally, the heart is the gateway, which, when fully opened, allows this energy to move beyond the heart into the higher centers. And as it finds its way to the higher centers, the throat, the third eye, and the crown, life really becomes magical. And phenomenal reality reflects the state of consciousness that we're living in absolutely magical ways. All right. Wow. I just talked a whole lot. I'm curious if anyone has any questions or there's anything specific y'all wanted to get out of this call, or if you want me to just keep going.
Well, Lucas, I'm as you know, I'm 100% on board with the idea that we are living the dream. And I even when you said that phrase, I even remembered a couple of times, because that had become a catchphrase in my town. Sometimes you'd ask somebody how they're doing, and they would say it in kind of a sarcastic way if they were doing some like boring job or something. They'd be like, "Oh, I'm living the dream," you know. But it didn't click until just now that like that's you know, like we're all actors in this movie. We're projecting it, and we're in it, and we're all interacting with different facets of ourselves. And you know, I had an interesting real life dream just yesterday, where I was in the grocery store, and the checkout man was checking the groceries out in the slowest way I've ever seen, like far slower than you can possibly imagine. And I realized immediately that this was a test. Like, can I watch this happening without, you know, getting hot? Because it was just preposterous how slow he was doing it. And then the bagging guys were doing something ridiculous as well. And I watched it for a while, and eventually I said something to the bagging guy. I was like, dude, you can fill those bags up a little more. It doesn't have to be like, you know, down in the bottom of the bag and then you put it in the shopping cart. But I did have, you know, I played with the idea that, you know, I'm these people too, you know, and I need to train myself to go easy on this. So I saw it as, you know, sometimes it seems like just a projection that's teaching you something about you, but sometimes it's like a lesson that's been constructed for you. Like it's something, you know, people come in because they're a reflection of you, but people also come in because they need what you have, or you need what they have, or there's a scenario that we need to, like, you know, that needs to play out and teach us something. So yeah, I felt like sharing that because it just came up. But this I'm learning as much as I can about symbols as well, and multiple meanings of words. These are all things that I found are like really helpful for decoding the whole experience. And, you know, sometimes I can make sense of it, and sometimes it's like, oh, that was really weird. I'll just not understand that for the time being, but just remember that it happened, and maybe it unfolds later.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. Thanks for sharing.
Well, thank you.
I love how, you know, you brought that into the discussion. There's, you know, from one point of view, the world is inside out and everything is you. And often and I find more and more living in this, you know, a state of harmony and love, these beings will show up magically to help us, teach us, and guide us. Yeah, I love that.
It feels to me like a process of refinement that's very divinely and purposefully, you know, when you first start having to do it, it's just chaos. But then after you kind of get the lay of the land and understand how these scenarios feel, then you understand, okay, this is, this is something it's teaching me. Maybe I thought I already had this figured out, but it's taken me a little further, and, making sure that I really get it. And I've noticed it that way. And that also, once you get the message, then those things stop, whatever bad patterns somebody keeps encountering over and over again in their life, whatever, calamity that they keep running into or whatever, like once you actually receive the teaching properly, then you can do something else. Like we get to move on and do other things once we receive the lesson.
Yeah, beautifully put, Sean. Yeah, that has been my experience as well. I often have people contact me. They may be referred to me. They wanted to have an introduction call. And they'll tell me I keep having this recurring dream over and over. I'm being chased by a man with a knife. And just before he stabs me, I wake up, for example. I've been having this dream over and over and over for 10 years. Can you help me make it stop? And to your point, Sean, it's beautiful. Whatever this is, this divine mystery, our soul, whatever we call that communicates to us in our dreams. Once we can see it in a different way, and it always happens with people when they take on dream work, with that being their first intention, I need this dream to stop. Once they're able to see it in a different way and connect with what the meaning of that symbolism and that feeling is that keeps coming up over and over in their dreams, and to learn that it's actually this divine presence that's showing them this for their own benefit, and they learn to see it in a different way. And then often with shadow work sessions or whatever, they're able to actually shift the energy, which usually comes by way of forgiveness, understanding. So the energetic charge goes away. Well, after that alchemical process happens, then magically they stop having these dreams forever. And as you said, it also happens in the waking dream, same way. You might have the same experience. Like for me, I had just failure after failure after failure in different ways in my life, and severe accidents with injuries, and relationships, as soon as something really started to feel good, the rug would get pulled out from under me. Was this pattern, this belief that I had. It just kept happening over and over and over again. And it was actually working with Gabor Mate in my first ayahuasca ceremonies way back in the day. He helped me see this a different way, and to learn from it, and to see some of the opportunities that were there for me in shifting some of these patterns. And knock on wood, haven't had any major catastrophes for a while. And I think the shadow work and dream work has been helpful in that regard.
I have a question.
Okay.
So I am curious if one could have an intention before going to sleep to heal a certain core wound, to have something happen within the dream that would whatever, heal the core wound of abandonment or of whatever, because we know we have these things, we know we're triggered by these things. And we do the work and all the things, but I wonder if we could really do some awesome deep work without that ego in the way. And do you do work like that at all? or any
Yeah,
advice
yeah,
there?
absolutely. Absolutely, Julie. Um, there's the way that I frame it in my own practice and invite people I work with to frame it is first, invite people to keep a dream journal. Start setting that intention every night before going to sleep. Be still in the morning and go through the protocols that I described more at length in other talks. And so those dreams, you have that connection where the dreams are coming through. Is in that time before going to sleep, I call it dream incubation. It's setting an intention, just as you said, Juliet. This is something that it's real for me, is live in my life right now. Can you, whatever you call that, for me, I named him Lucas, actually. My legal name is Jeffrey. And, I felt that there was this other part of me, like a higher, more evolved level of consciousness somewhere. I called my higher self at the time. And then later I gave it a name because it's just like literally creating a relationship with whatever that is. So I called it Lucas, was another name for my higher self. And in 2012, after spending a month in silence, transformation happened, and it just it felt like there was a merging where that higher self wasn't so distant, it wasn't out there so much. I was really deeply connected with it all the time. Even when I wasn't dreaming, I learned that I could still the mind, like drop out of the mind for a few seconds and open to guidance from whatever that was. So even without dreaming, I would state an intention in my mind, like speaking to that while I'm wide awake, and ask for guidance in the moment. And I would spontaneously get a thought. A thought would come that would be related to my inquiry. And absolutely, as we're going to sleep, setting that intention helps. And then once the dreams come through, after processing the dream, and there's a lot to that, and a big part of this course and work, after the dream comes through and we've processed it together, it really helps to have someone else to bounce it off of, and that someone else is not telling you what the dream means. I don't interpret dreams. I mostly ask questions. It's almost all asking questions to help people, give them space to connect with that guidance as they're processing what came through in the dream. And one dream may be maybe a 20-minute process of didactic, going through, asking questions. What is that character? This happened in your high school. What was going on at that time of your life? This lady Angela that showed up in your dream, what if you were to describe the characteristics of Angela when you remember her? What are the three primary characteristics that come to mind? Someone might say, wow, she was actually playful, she was creative, she liked to dance. Perhaps Angela is showing up in your dream because there's a part of you that wants you to connect with that part of yourself. As an example. Right. So at the end of that didactic, then then what I invite people to do is to say thank you. This is my own practice. My teacher guided me to do at the end of the dream. Thank you for bringing me this dream. This is what I'm getting from it. And I would describe what I'm getting from it. You know, based upon that dream, what I'm getting is I'm reading way, way too much. And I'm disconnecting from my daughters and my wife because I'm too deep into my mind, for example. And I'm not really clear if that's it. If there's more, will you please show me more in my dreams? And something about that, you know, honoring that which is communicating to us. And when I say that word honoring, I've also found in my own experience that not only saying the words, but taking action based upon what came through in the dreams. So sometimes I'll add, based upon what I'm getting in this dream, I'm committing to this change of behavior. Or I'm going to go ahead and buy that ticket to Costa Rica March 16th. I don't know why. If that's not right, I'm inviting another dream before I buy that ticket tomorrow, you know, or you know, in a few days, for example. So I'm so glad you asked that question, Julie, because it really points to this, what I call cultivating an intimate relationship with our higher self. It's not like you get one dream and that's it, you know, figure it out. It literally is a relationship, and I treat it like a most beautiful lover I've ever had, most beautiful friend, helper. And a part of that is letting them know that I'm listening, you know, letting Lucas, my higher self, know. And sometimes what I will do is I will ritualize it. Something about that dream, I was, you know, standing on the beach looking at the ocean. I was afraid to jump in. And then I looked down on the ground and I saw this black stone in the dream. And then in processing it, this black stone represented something to me in my own consciousness. And so I might find a black stone literally on earth after the dream and put it somewhere in the house, or put it somewhere where I'll see it. So every time I walk by that stone, I'll remember that dream. This totem, this reminder. So that was a long answer to your question, Julie. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you. I like that, the relationship with the higher self. Just cultivating that. I'll have to name.
Yeah, come up with a name. I find it helpful. I name all of my shadows too. Similarly, cultivating an intimate relationship with those feelings, right? The phenomenon happens in the waking life, and I find myself triggered. And I do this in work with other people too. So like this person I mentioned being on the beach and being afraid when someone came and brought him a wheelbarrow of coconuts, inviting him to go into that feeling he felt, this being afraid of this man with a beard. And I might ask, when was the first time you remember ever having that feeling? And very often what happens is an immediate response. Oh, well, that was when I got mistreated by so-and-so. And we go in and we'd work with that. So yes, absolutely. Incubating the intention is helpful for not only shadow work, also in this lucid living experience. There was a lady who, she's not on the call. She had car problems, so she wasn't able to join us. But she messaged me last night. Someone I met at this magical place in Guatemala called Mystical Yoga Farm. All this magical stuff happened in total paradise. And I met this woman there, and she asked if I knew of a place in Mexico that she may want to go with her partner. And I told her that my dreams guided me to this place called Mazunte, this beach. And so I landed there. I got a room for a few days. I knew I would be there for probably a few months. And that night, right when I landed, I asked whatever that is. Now I call it the divine mystery. Um, and will you show me where I should move to while I'm here? This place that I landed at, that I booked on booking.com, doesn't have a really great view. And my ultimate dream would be to be at a certain elevation over the ocean where it's not so hot. And it would be great if it was private and with good internet connection, place where I can do my calls. And I also would rather if it's like $500 a month or less, but I want a really nice place. And I know that I'm manifesting magic every day. I know that it's possible. Absolutely. This is how I live my life now. So that night I had a dream of a comet. Totally random. After I'd had that intention, the incubation. Right? So now we're talking, it's a little bit different than shadow work. This is the lucid living aspect of what this dream work brings us to in our experience. So I had a dream about a comet, which is totally random. That's the answer to where I should go? Like a comet? Like, didn't make any sense. Right? So I asked again the next night. Another comet shows up in one of my dreams. And very often there's 5 or 6 or more separate movies per night. Very often they have related themes, and sometimes they're not. 2 or 3 dreams may be about shadow stuff. And then there may be other like direct guidance dreams. It isn't like you don't have to figure this out. This is just telling you stop eating potato chips. And it could also be something symbolic like the comet that at first doesn't make any sense. Then it came twice in the dream. I knew that was related somehow to my request for a magical, beautiful place to live while I was there. So the third day, I went to a cafe there in Mazunte, this beautiful little beach town. And I'm sitting at a cafe having a cup of coffee, and I was contemplating those dreams. Like, I wonder what comet has to do with where I'm going to move. Like, and I kept thinking of all different scenarios, and I'm literally thinking this in the moment. And then my eyes focus on the street sign in front of me, and it said Punte Cometa, which means Comet Point in Spanish. I'm literally looking at, and so I'm awake, right? I'm looking at I was thinking about the dreams, the guidance that I got in my dreams was about comets, and now I'm contemplating it, and I look forward and I see the sign that says Punte Cometa, and I'm like, because I've been doing, this is literally how I've been living my life now for 6 years. That's it. Perfect. I'm going to walk up that road. It's here. And so with curiosity and wonder, which are very elevated states of consciousness, a really high frequency, I'm finding the more I live in wonder, the more wonderful life becomes. So I start walking up the road, Punte Cometa, and I passed this retreat center that I remember I'd seen on booking.com, but it was like $2,800 a month, like a bit out of what I wanted to spend. I kept going up because I follow my dreams, and I knew it was going to show up somehow. And then I saw this sign that said Habitaciones Económico, like cheap rooms. And then it pointed, it just had an arrow up this hill. I went up the hill, and there was this amazing building with a bunch of rooms with balconies overlooking the ocean, with exactly the view that I like, at exactly the elevation I feel most comfortable. And I thought, for a second, I thought, well, this is probably like 2,000 a month, like this place next door. And I caught that, and then I realized that's a limiting belief. That's a pattern. It's actually not true. My dreams are bringing me to whatever's going to happen, whether it's money's going to come out of the sky or somehow, like, I'm trusting, I'm following this sign. And it really feels like this is the place I was visualizing as the perfect place for me to be. So I walk up to the property, and this man comes out, doesn't speak a word of English. I speak a little bit, doesn't speak a word of Spanish. I speak a little bit. And I explained to him that I'm looking for a place. And he says, "Oh, you're lucky because this room just opened up. And let me show it to you." And I walked in, and it was absolutely perfect. And then came when I asked him for the money, but it was after I really connected with him. You know, I pet his dogs, and I met his mom and his dad, and it was just a total love fest meeting these people. And and I told them I'm a coach. I teach DREAMWORK. I'm literally teaching people to follow their dreams and connect with their heart. And I want a place to do that work where it's quiet, and this place is beautiful. I don't know if I can afford it. And then he said, "Well, how does 450 a month sound?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I stayed there for 3 months, living the dream. So that was a long kind of story, and it's also part of what I'm feeling called to share with as many people as I can, free too. This, how magical life can be, and what opens up for us as we cultivate a deep and loving connection with whatever that is, the divine mystery. Like absolute magic can happen, and it can start happening so much like miracles become the new normal.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
So I used to, like a couple of years ago, ask questions to my dreams and always get an answer. And then one time it just stopped. And it was like I had done it too much. It's like I had abused of the practice. And like now it's kind of random. Like sometimes I get it, I often don't. It's like it's hard to really, I mean, I don't want to say, I'd say maybe like a third of the time I get it. I get the answer, but it's almost like my dreams are like, no. Like, so why do you think that is? Is it because like my dreams are asking me more to surrender and receive? Yeah.
Who knows?
Okay.
First two words that come to mind. That's my kind of my go-to answer for everything. Who knows?
Does it work
And
for you 100% of the time?
no. And I'm sort of joking when I say that answer. And also, I'm finding that surrendering in that way, who knows, is a part of opening up to the mystery. When I'm thinking things like this is happening because of this or because of that, in my experience, again, I don't, you know, I share my experience, not being attached to anything I think I know, has been my experience that um, overthinking has gotten in the way. And often it's a pattern of a limiting belief. And here's another example. After starting to work with ayahuasca a lot years ago, and doing that work and helping co-facilitate that work for a while here in Costa Rica, I developed an addiction to smoking tobacco. Um, it was using it ceremonially too, in a good way. And outside of ceremony, I was still smoking it habitually. And usually my dreams are like super, super clear every night. And I remember having a few dreams with tobacco kept coming up in my dreams. Were suggesting there's something about tobacco for me to look at. I didn't want to see it, right? Because I was addicted. And there you go. There's a gecko chiming in. It's a yes. And so I kept smoking, telling myself it helped me ground. And I needed it to ground because I was doing so much ceremony work and so much other stuff. And so I had all these reasons why I needed to smoke tobacco. And then all of a sudden, I don't say all of a sudden, but at some point I stopped having dreams at all. I wasn't remembering my dreams. It stopped. And then waking up in the morning, here's another morning. I have zero dreams. Like, what's going on? And then I would have this like intuitive feeling. It's something about tobacco. And I'm like, no, it's just, they'll come back on. And I ended up moving back to Florida, and I did a 40-day isolation diet, actually drinking tobacco most days and not smoking it, and really doing a practice to get right with that sacred plant. and the after I think it was the third week of not smoking tobacco, the dreams just opened up like absolutely even deeper than ever before. So I don't know if that's anything of what I shared is true for you and your experience, Julie. I say, who knows? So that's my first go-to, and then the next is that you know better than anybody. It's you have your own intuition, and by asking the question, you just asked me while you're alone in stillness, and your mind is quiet. Maybe right when you wake up in the morning, a thought may come that will answer that question for you. That's what I would say in response. All right. I'm so glad to get questions and input from you guys. I'm just doing this, kind of winging it from my heart. No set program or agenda, and I've learned every day from the beings and things that show up in my waking dream, and you guys are part of it. So thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you, Lucas. It's good to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the
Thank you, Lucas.
inspiration. Oops, sorry.
No, it's all good.
I just said thank you for the inspiration.
Me as well. You know, sharing this work with other people inspires me to follow the guidance that comes in the dreams, right? To like letting go of tobacco is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And teaching this work and sharing it, you know, it's I feel emotional when I say this. It inspires me to walk the talk and really follow the guidance that's coming through. So thank you for the inspiration as well.
Hey, Lucas, I'm really happy that you're going to make these recordings for free, because I have a couple of friends that I've talked to that they probably wouldn't start by signing up for a session, but they would definitely be keen to watch a video. So it'll be nice to have something about you that I can share. And yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Great. Thank you. And you know what's interesting, how that all happened, Sean, or all of you? Again, like we can look at things in different ways. Gosh, I guess about, I don't know, 3-4 weeks ago, I paid somebody $10,000 to help create my course, an online course. And a few calls into that work, she introduced a script that, and I've studied NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and it was just really clear there was a manipulation in that script, and pushing people into fear. And that's what this person, again, no disrespect, right? We're all, this is my experience. Her specialty was closing high ticket offers. Right? So it worked with me. But afterwards, I felt like we're just not on the same page. You know, this isn't, it doesn't align for me. I want to I want to offer this for free or cheap to as many people as I can. And you know, I've sat with it after, like, wow, that was $10,000, you know, like,
I mean, I hope you can make a living at it too, if that's what you want to do. But it's nice to have an introduction, and people that would never sign up anyway or get to learn something, and people that might sign up are gonna come to you because they get to learn something before they, you know, before they can get a session with you. And
yeah.
I've been meaning to have a call with you sometime, but a lot of my dreams are not like packaged up into a thing that's ready to, like, let's look at this properly. You know, they're disjointed little things, and I'm learning bits and pieces and using some of the tools that you gave me. But I'm gonna, one day we'll do another one when it really feels like a you know, a complete one.
Sounds great. Awesome. Thank you, Sean.
Love you, brother. Thank you.
Love you too. Love you, everybody. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you, Joan. So magical to meet you yesterday, randomly in the street, like literally right in front of where I'm living.
Yeah, that was cool.
After you'd already connected, we were going to join this call, right?
Good happenstance.
Be continued. Sure.
Sorry.
All right, everybody. Well, if everyone feels complete,
you.
I do. We're coming up on an hour and a half. I, again, want to say thank you so much for being, for giving us all the opportunity to learn and grow together. I'll be, apparently, I'll be doing these calls every week, for the foreseeable future. So. Does this time work for you guys? You think this is a good time to do a weekly call? It's I'm in the jungle here, and it's rainy season, and it starts pouring every night. So I can't, it's, you know, it's often the internet and power goes off at night. So this time was chosen purposely before the rain usually starts.
Yeah, I think it's a good time.
All right.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can.
Every week, is it going to be a continuation, or are you going to be saying the same thing for a while, or no? Continuation type thing.
Yeah, you know, and you know, the intention is to talk about specific kinds of dreams. So I talk about remote viewing, talk about astral travel, metaphorical dreams, you know, all the different kind, direct communication, shadow work, lucid living, you know, all different aspects, which are, you know, different chapters in this book that I'm writing. To, you know, to share that work before the book comes out, to share it with you know, with an open heart. And yeah, so you know, the invitation is for those who want to continue to learn more, just come every week. I'll put a post for when the call will be. Just let me know you want to join. Come on in. And what I also want to do is actually do some of the work, right? So as you know, Suzette, you and I did a whole bunch together, right? You know how it goes. So inviting you all to set that intention, record your dreams. Maybe go, you know, if it's helpful, maybe you go to the website, eyesopendream.com. Maybe you watch one of those videos where I speak in more detail about protocols for catching the dreams, if you need help with that. But my intention is to get as many people as I can literally dreaming together and sharing our dreams together. So in the call, you know, this is the first one that I've recorded that I'll put on the website. And in the future, my intention is that I'll be doing a lot less talking, more listening, and we'll actually be doing dream work sessions just like I do in, you know, paid one-on-ones. You know, for those people who are willing to do that with other people on the call. to show practical examples of just how this work works and how it transforms people's lives over time.
That'd be
And-
cool. That'd be really fascinating.
And also, is
Come
it
on
Sean?
back. Sorry, Suzette, what?
Is it Sean with the beautiful doggy? I wanted
Yeah.
to tell. Okay, it was so weird, but when I started working with Lucas, and the dreams just flowed so effortlessly and perfectly. It was weird, and maybe I don't know. He's kind of magical. I mean, everybody's magical, but and then when we quit, I still had the intentions, but it just went. It wasn't as clear, wasn't as common, wasn't as forthcoming, and I don't know. I'm not trying to sell him or anything, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. And I could probably be doing more of the things to intentionally invite them and catch them and record them. And I could probably be doing more of that. Yeah, my whole experience is a form of picking apart dreams. I'm watching, I watch politics and world events a lot, but not in the way, I'm not following it as if it's real. I'm following it as if it's teaching us in that way. And so I look for symbolism, I look for allegories, I look for all of these things. And I'm on Facebook if you're interested. I'm on there just every day picking it apart with people. What does this mean? What did he mean when he said that? What is this event? A lot of it actually seems to connect with Bible stories as well. So that's an angle where I go and I look at, hey, this big earthquake and the Olive Mountain splitting apart. That's literally a story, there's things happening that are straight out of the Bible and mythology, and things are very wild things are happening in the world right now. So I've kind of lost focus on my own night school, and it's become all about the day school.
Yeah. Which your last name, and I will follow you.
Sean Adams, and the Facebook URL name is Sean Adams 17.
SHAUN.
SEANADAMS.
Cool. Thanks.
Wow,
And
I
I
want to
think
check that out too, Sean. I love seeing you and your photos and stuff. I never really checked out that content you just referred to. It sounds
Yeah,
fascinating.
it's not for everybody, but that's what I'm doing.
Cool. Check it out. Yeah, and to your point, Suzette, it has been my experience over and over with different people who, sign up to do some calls or show up for a session, make an appointment to do a DreamWork session. They may not remember any dreams for, several nights, and then the night before the call, they get some really clear dreams. It seems like maybe it's their soul or their higher self knows that they're going to be in a meeting, to really make some use of what came through. It's just over and over. I see that happening. Someone might write to me and say, I don't know if we should do the call this week because I haven't had dreams, and I said, well, let's just plan on it and see what happens the night before the session. And very often it comes through.
Yeah. Nice. I thought
right,
about you. I had an amazing one a few nights ago. I was like, good Lord, I need to ask Lucas what this means. And I was like, he's just going to tell me to figure this out, this part, and figure who's this and what's this. But it was really good. Not good, but good. It was
let me
intense.
know if you want to talk about that. We can,
Thank you. Okay.
shoot me a message, and if there's other dreams, that one or others you feel comfortable sharing it with the group, we can be great to do some of it live.
Yeah, love to. I don't know if I have that one written down because I wanted to forget it or let it go, but I'll see. I'm happy to share with the group though, anything, Yeah.
Sorry, I have to go. It's like little flying bug o'clock, and I gotta shut my doors.
Okay,
Nice to
John,
meet you.
thank you
Thank
for
you so
joining us.
much. Thank you. Bye.
Ah. All right. Well, as we sign off, I feel like I'm gonna share one dream with whoever is left and willing to sit on and take maybe 3 minutes or so. That's a yes.
Sure, I'll hear it.
That's a yes.
Yeah, so I had this dream the other night. And interestingly, when I came here to Costa Rica, again, living the dream, I met a man named Merlin. Is literally connected with the Merlin lineage, and he's a magician, and apparently has this beautiful property up in the hills near Platanillo, and he had invited me to come there and have a visit. I hadn't yet gone there when I had this dream. So the dream is really short. I just think it's really beautiful. I find myself in this absolutely beautiful place that looks like Costa Rica, waterfalls and a whole lot of land, beautiful little homes, people living together in community, an organic garden, a place for ceremonies and gatherings. Beautiful retreat center, like what I have thought in the past I might like to have myself, or live at somehow. So I found myself there in this dream. It's an absolutely beautiful place with, of all people, Merlin, this magician. And I'm looking around at the property and I thought, wow, maybe this is the place that he was going to invite me to come and live. It must be his property. And then while I'm in the dream, I felt into it. And the thought that came was, actually, this is my property. And then after that, the thought came was that we both owned not only this property, but we both actually owned everything. And after I had that thought, that it was more than we owned everything, it was that we are everything. And then after I had that thought, Merlin looks at me in the eyes and he smiles and he says, we're making this all up, right? And then I looked at him and I smiled and I said, yeah, I know. This is our dream. And then I was thinking this may be a place that I may live at some time. And previously, when I had thought about living at a retreat center, coming into money where I could help support retreat centers in the future, I had thought that the name would be Vortex of Love.
Ooh, good.
And I've consciously visualized a place for healing and joy and manifestation called Vortex of Love. And I thought this may be that place, because so often, 5 times so far, I've seen these places that I would live before they showed up in waking life. So I was thinking that may be what the whole experience was. And then I realized, actually, no, it's not going to be called Vortex of Love. The place is called The One. And I told Merlin, I says, this place, every home that I live from now on, I will call The One. That's my home.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the end of the dream.
Nice.
Very good.
What is your place now in Costa Rica and Florida called The One?
Yeah, I just happened that night. So actually, it's more than that. It's wherever I am, where I live. It's all The One. Everything. All of creation, creating in every moment. It's all The One. The mystery, the divine.
Do you know how long you're staying there, gonna stay where you are right now? Playing it by ear.
No, who knows? the feeling that I've had in my dreams is it would be at least 6 months. I've been here about a little over 2 months. And again, dreaming and calling in guidance for where I can stay. So I'm dreaming up somewhere that's safe where I can do this work. It's beautiful, and it doesn't cost a whole lot, or that the money will come. And knowing, trusting, it's something about not having a ton of money in the bank. You know, for the last few years while I've been, you know, doing this work. It's in a way it's been really sweet. It's deepened my trust in the mystery. And I'm finding as I continue in my own practice and living with integrity, things work out and we can live a really beautiful, abundant life. And it doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to take long. So somebody yesterday invited me to go and stay on her land. And today I got another message to go and co-facilitate retreats in Nosara to teach DREAMWORK there. And she said, we'll provide full accommodations. It's normally $18.50 a month. No, $18.50 a week, sorry. So I have an application. I'm going to fill it out, and I may go there and teach DREAMWORk for a week and really nice accommodations.
Sweet.
And really, it's wide open. Long answer to your question, but who knows?
That place wouldn't be called Pilates Nosara.
No.
Okay. I know a woman who owns that place that I used to massage. Anyway, she opened, and it's more than just Pilates, but okay. Years ago, she opened it, and I see her posts on Facebook. Wonderful person. That would have been a cool coincidence.
Well, you know, maybe there's something there. We will see.
Her name's
All right,
Paige.
you guys. We've gone a little bit over an hour and a half. Thank you so much again for being here. Keep dreaming. And I'll send out an invite for next week's call. Would love to have any or all of you join for that. In the meantime, keep dreaming. Dream with your eyes open.
Lucas, thank you.
Thanks so much. It's wonderful to hear you.
Thank you, Lucas.
Welcome, Julie. Thank you.
I'll be back.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.